Wonderful, aren't they, these crocuses? They've only just put their heads out today, middle of February here in the UK. It's actually quite a mild day. They're beautiful to look at, and part of the reason they're beautiful is because their shapes reflect a lot of sacred geometry. These are shapes that can be found throughout nature. But did you know that actually under your feet, in your very home, you can find some ancient sacred symbols that have been used in manifesting and creating change throughout the centuries, and they're right there under your feet. My name's Tim Walter. I'm a house healer and an alternative life coach. On this channel we try to straddle some of the middle ground between logical objective thinking and more esoteric spiritual approaches to life. It's about getting the balance in order to help maintain health and wellness. If you like what you see on the channel, don't forget, click the subscribe button, click on the grey bell icon to get notified every time we do a video upload, and remember to leave a comment and click the thumbs up if you like what you see. In past videos we've looked at how my mentor Hamish Miller identified geometric shapes within the earth energy at ancient sacred sites. And we've seen how earth energy isn't just at special sacred sites anyway. We've talked about how earth energy is absolutely everywhere, and how it seems to be a crucial part of the mind-matter connection for human beings, and how it may even have implications for the continuation of life after death. Today we're going to be looking at some of the shapes and symbols that can be found in earth energy at the power centres in our own homes or places of work, and we'll be looking at what they mean for us in terms of finding peace, well-being at work, or even in our own minds. If you're a regular subscriber to the channel, then you'll know that I don't really like the term earth energy. It's a bit woolly. It kind of comes from New Age thinking and earth mysteries thinking, and that's fine. But really, I think we need to try to be a bit more specific with what it is. What seems to be the case and what seems to be emerging is that it is part of the electromagnetic field that we live in all the time. There are things like the Schumann resonance, which are a part of electromagnetic fields created by the movement of the planet as it hurtles through space. It's a resonance that's set up in the atmosphere. That's a scientific fact. There are also things called telluric currents, which science accepts are lines of strong electromagnetic force, which run in the ground and through water, and they're created by all sorts of different interactions between the physical earth and the stresses and strains put on this lump of rock as it hurtles through space. And I think the best way to think of earth energy is that it's associated with these sort of electromagnetic phenomena, in that earth energy patterns are created by fluctuations of the electromagnetic forces as a result of the interaction of the earth and its atmosphere. Even though I may start to refer to this earth energy as electromagnetic, it doesn't take away the significance of it in terms of how we relate to it and what its role is in our existence here on the planet. And this is why, to me, it actually remains a spiritual aspect, because it's part of our link to creation. In other words, to our maker, the universe, God, whatever you like to call it. Now, when we start to look at earth energy, as I've already said in many videos, I've asked you to go off and look for the power centre in your own homes, and you can find these by dowsing. And what you find there is the spiral. The easiest thing to find is the spiral, and it always shows up as a spiral shape. It's a shape that we see throughout all scales of existence, from the classic spiralling vortex of energy of the theoretical composition of quantum zero-point field. In other words, once they start to analyse exactly what's going on down there in the minutest level of existence, they find just swirling vortices. But it also is found, this spiral shape is found in the huge, massive, gargantuan scales of the cosmos. But the thing is that as we're dowsing these patterns and finding them in earth energy, we see it as a spiral, because the spiral is the two-dimensional representation of the three-dimensional vortex. So really what you have in your house is a vortex of energy. So while we might be able to douse it on the ground and see it in that sense as a spiral, really what's there is a massive swirling vortices of energy. The next level of earth energy, if you like, that we can see, and which I've mentioned in other videos, is the straight line radials that emanate from the centre of that spiral pattern. These we've seen will increase in number as you focus good vibes, good positive intent into that space. And it's this simple change that illustrates our mind-matter connection, if you like, our connection to this earth energy, the fact that we can increase the number of radials that exist there. And it's a very clear correlation between cause and effect. So that's 2 levels of earth energy. If we go to the next one, which is just a little deeper, then what we find is a figure of 8, or an infinity symbol, or to give it its technical mathematical name, the Lemniscate of Bernoulli. A lemniscate in mathematics is basically the name given to the line that can be created from 2 set points. I think from our perspective it's interesting that this shape actually represents infinity, given the fact that we're talking about on this channel things like life after death and the creation of reality. And therefore we're implying a spiritual cause and effect going on in our existence. And here we find within earth energy something that is integral to life on this planet, a symbol that we have adopted as a species to use in a logical sense to talk about infinity. To find out a little bit more about this and why it got linked in that way, we need to go back to the 1600s. Europe was a developing place where just at the beginning of the Renaissance, if you like, after the Dark Ages, there was much work that was going on with mathematicians all over the place. And one of those mathematicians was a guy called John Wallis. John Wallis was an influential clergyman and a mathematician, and he chose an ancient esoteric symbol known as the orubus to represent infinity as part of his work in the developing field of mathematics. John Wallis is jointly credited, along with Sir Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz, for the development of calculus. Being a clergyman, he also would have had knowledge of the ancient esoteric traditions, and that includes the symbolism of the orubus, which traditionally represents either a snake or a dragon eating its own tail. In that sense, it represents a never-ending process, therefore infinity, and it's sometimes shown simply as a circle, but often also turns up as a figure of 8. Now Jacob Bernoulli, who the shape was named after, is another mathematician studying the natural world around the same time as John Wallis in the 1600s. Bernoulli was particularly interested in the concept of chance, and he is credited with creating some of the earliest numerical laws governing the laws of probability or the likelihood of particular events occurring. Highly developed versions of Bernoulli's laws have gone on to become some of the cornerstones of the modern study of statistics. Bernoulli was interested in the laws of chance because he was wanting to try and evaluate and calculate the laws of probability in relation to gambling. So he was looking at the possibilities and the probabilities and the statistical likelihood of particular events occurring. And what interests me about that is that, of course, when we talk today in modern language about manifesting, we're talking about probabilities and things occurring in our perception of reality. So there's a really lovely link there with Bernoulli way back in the 1600s. I think it's rather lovely, actually, that we find within this electromagnetic field around us, within this earth energy in our homes, a symbol that actually represents infinity, but was created by somebody that was fascinated by the laws of chance and the statistical probability of events occurring, things being manifested. And the reason why I find that so interesting and rather lovely is exactly what we're going to look at now. A long time ago I was told by my spirit guide, actually, to think about life as an event that is constantly being created. It's not something that was created billions of years ago and that was that, creation stopped. But what he said was, think about it as an ongoing process. Creation is happening all the time. Now that's not a new concept, because that fits in line with some of the Seth Chronicles work, and also I believe some of the work that Neil Donald Walsh put across in Conversations with God. But what I think is new is that these lemniscates appear to be part of the actual mechanism of creation, because they're not static. They actually pulse. They almost are like a heartbeat. As one loop becomes smaller, the other one becomes larger. And on it goes. And you can douse this change occurring. But not only do they pulse, but there's more than one pair. You have one lemniscate sitting there, but at 90 degrees you'll find another one. And not only that, there's a third one. And the third one actually is in the completely different axis. It comes in the vertical axis, above and below the other two. But all of them pulse in synchronization with each other, and it actually is a lovely thing to douse. Now, don't take my word for all this. What I'd like you to do is to find the power center in your homes. Find that spiral. Find those radials, those straight lines that come out from the center of the spiral. And then when you've had a bit of practice and you're used to tuning into that earth energy, look for these infinity symbols. Look for the Lemniscate of Benui in your own home. And not necessarily on the first time you find it, but you will find, the more you tune into that shape, you will find that you can actually follow it as it pulses. Let me know how you get on. It really is actually one of the most amazing things in dowsing earth energy. It is inexplicably exciting. And one of the things to think about once you've found them is the fact that these are two-dimensional representations of three-dimensional shapes. And the lemniscate is actually a cross-section of a torus at a specific point. In sacred geometry, the lemniscate is often quoted as being a balance between male and female energies. And the point where they cross, the point where they meet, is said to be that point of creation, that point of harmony and balance. We'll talk more about lemniscates in the future. But clearly, what we've got here is something really interesting within the electromagnetic field of our homes. And what's really useful is that as you develop your ability to tune in to the earth energy in your house, the electromagnetic field in your house, you're becoming far more tuned to the power of the universe to create what you want. That creative process is not necessarily about creating things. It's more about creating a sense of well-being, a sense of peace, a sense of harmony, a sense of balance in your life. On a more practical level, the more you tune in and find this earth energy, and the more you realize and detect how it responds to your presence, the more confidence that gives you that actually there is something happening as you meditate, or as you tune in, or as you speak to the ultimate creator, or whoever you may wish to address in your own minds. It would also suggest, of course, that there is a mind-matter connection outside of ourselves, and that may be unacceptable for science at this time, but I'm sure it will change. But the more you tune into it, and the more you get used to tuning into it, the more you will see how your thoughts really do affect this field of energy around you. It's almost like it's conscious in itself. And perhaps this is why the ancient civilizations, like the ancient Egyptians and other civilizations around the world, considered these shapes that could be seen in earth energy as being sacred, because they had a direct correlation to creation. We're going to look at other shapes in a future video. The next one we're going to look at is in a slightly different layer, and it reflects and amplifies this point about the fact that there appears to be an awareness in this field. Because what happens is, when we go into this next video, you'll see how the earth energy kind of assesses your mind, body, spirit, and gives you a pattern in response to your presence. And that pattern is really contentious and has been abused for eons. I bet you can start to guess what it is. See you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.